Hello, and welcome to Viva La Action, the movie podcast where we're talking all things action movies. The good, the bad, and the underrated. My name is Santi, and with me as always is my co-host, Grayson.
What up?
Bonjour.
What's shaking, Bacon? I thought you were gonna fucking close it again.
I was like focusing so hard on hitting the minimize.
Yeah.
For listeners who don't know, I just tried to record 3 separate times, but I kept closing the program.
Yeah. It was pretty funny.
This is our first time in the same room together.
In like a month?
A month and a half, something like that.
So we're a little lusty.
A little lusty, a little lubricated. I don't know what that means.
With little rusties, you can look like me. Ka-chow.
Anyway, one of the reasons we didn't record for a while is because I went on a little trip. I went to LA and we went to California Adventure. Mm-hmm. And in California Adventure, they have like the Cars land.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was such a big fan of Cars until I rocked up, and like the whole time I was like, "Wow,
this is so cool!" But it's a banger of a movie.
It's a great movie. Cars 1 is one of the best kids movies ever.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, like the soundtrack is off the charts.
It's just bangers.
Like Owen Wilson does such a good job, and just like the story itself is phenomenal.
And the third one is just Rocky. It's just
that's it.
It's all about him redeeming himself or whatever, and then at the end he decides he's not the best racer anymore.
Yeah.
And he hands the gauntlet off and he becomes the coach or whatever.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's so good.
Yeah. There's our Cars talk.
Yeah.
It's Cars spin-off podcast.
If you haven't seen Cars, which I don't know why you wouldn't have, go see it.
Go see Cars.
Go just rent it or some shit. Buy it. So good.
Ka-chow cast.
Yeah.
No, there's not. I don't think there's a better... Wait. Lightning McQuest. I'm trying to think of a pun from Cars cast. Cars podcast.
Oh.
Ka-chow cast, I think, is as good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tomato cast. Anyway.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm chilling.
That's good.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm still reeling from closing that program 3 times. But, we were talking about the Techno Train. Yeah. Which is... I'll probably put a clip of it in the episode. Or maybe not. Because I uploaded our last video to YouTube. And what I like... I don't know if you've ever actually seen the YouTube videos.
I've seen a couple, yeah.
Okay. I like to put the trailer at the start of the video.
Yeah.
For whatever movie we watched. Mm-hmm. And this last time, I put in the Fast and Furious one, and I got copyright struck.
What the fuck?
I know, so I had to cut it out. So
well, that's stupid.
I'm not... YouTube is so pissy about, music for some reason.
Yeah.
You can put, a whole ass movie on YouTube, and they won't bat an eye.
Yeah.
But the second you have, 10 seconds of a Taylor Swift song, it's down.
You're done. You're done. The FBI's on their way. We got snipers trained on you as we speak. Yep.
And I'm kind of mad because, I feel like that video would have done okay, but right now it's sitting at, 20 views or something, and I think YouTube just killed it, immediately, which upsets me. Yeah. But that's okay. We're not talking about Fast and Furious this week. We're talking about Lost Bullet.
Yep.
Or in French, Balle Perdue.
Perfect.
I'm going to do a lot of bad French accents this episode.
I cannot wait.
It's a 2020 French action thriller film. It is directed by Guillaume Pauret, with a script written by Guillaume Pauret, Alban Lenoir, and Kamel Cramois.
Are you actually French?
No,
because this is perfect.
Here I can pronounce it like an American. It's a script written by Guillaume Pauret, Alban Lenoir, and Kamel Cramois. Incredible. Yeah. The film stars Alban Lenoir as Lino, Nicolas Duvachel as Areski, Ramsey Bedia as Shahas, Steffi Selma or Kelma. I think it's Selma. In French, is a C like at the start? Is that like a soft C? I think it's a Selma.
Yeah. I can't remember any of my French lessons from high school.
I took Spanish, so I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
She's Julia, and Rod Peridot is Quentin.
Peridot.
Peridot.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's the cast and crew. The film currently sits at a 78% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes, and this surprised me. It only has a 58% audience score.
What the fuck?
Yeah, which is like, normally it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
Like the audience likes it more than the critics, but for some reason this one's the other way.
Huh.
And we'll talk about it. I read some reviews that kind of confused me, but it's fine.
Yeah, all right.
And finally, the plot synopsis from IMDb. A small-time delinquent turned police mechanic for a go-fast task force, not tax force.
Yeah.
Work for the IRS.
That would be a funny movie.
Is forced to defend his innocence when his mentor is killed by dirty cops.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum. What'd you think of it?
It was good. I texted you last night because I started the movie and I was like, it was like the opening credits or whatever. Yeah. And I was like reading all of the names and I was like, these are very French names. And then it got to like the last name or something and it said et and then a name and I was like, is this French? And so I texted you. I was like, hey, is the movie I'm supposed to be watching French? Because what I'm currently viewing is French.
Yes. That made me laugh so hard because I was like, I just imagined you sitting in bed and being like, French.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't in bed. I was on my couch and I was like sitting there and I was like, I got very confused because I was like, is this supposed to be? Because I didn't know it was supposed to be.
Yeah. I don't think I told you it was French. So that's not your fault. But I could also just imagine you like, I don't know if you'd taken like an edible or something. And you'd like. What are they saying?
Yeah. It was interesting. But once I figured out that it was French, I was like, okay, switch your brain, different language, subtitles, gotta read them. And we figured it out.
Do you, I've never asked you this question, and I can't remember from when we lived together, but are you a subtitles on for everything person, or are you just a subtitles on for foreign films person?
As of late, I've been a subtitles on for everything because I like to do other stuff.
Yes.
And so a lot of times I'm not like actively listening. And so I just have to like, I can just like glance up or read the screen and be like, okay, I know what the hell's going on. Right. Now if it's a new movie, like with this one, I had to actively listen because I hadn't seen it before.
Right.
But even if it still wasn't like a foreign film, I still would have had the subtitles on. Because sometimes like I don't quite understand what they said.
Yeah.
And so I like having the subtitles there so that I can read it and be like, okay, and I get just more context.
Yeah, I'm a subtitles on for everything person. And here's my next question. Did you watch it dubbed or did you watch the French?
I watched the French.
Okay, good, because the dubbing is horrible.
Yeah. Whenever I watch a foreign film, I never watched it dubbed. No. I always watch it in the I guess original language that it was filmed in, and then I just put subtitles on because I'm like, it was meant to be viewed in this language. So
yeah, and I've gotten like, because I mean, this is gonna sound like I'm being a wanker, but I watch a lot of films that are like not from the U.S. So like I watch a lot of like Chinese films, and I watch a lot of like they're mostly action films, so it's not really that wanky, but
right.
So I got really used to watching with subtitles. Like, that's just kind of how I started to watch stuff. Because now, like, I feel weird watching them without it. Like, I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
And so I just gotten really used to it. Which some people are like, oh, don't be like, whatever. Like, it ruins the framing or what. Just shut the fuck
whatever.
up. Who cares? Watch movies however you want.
Yeah.
Watch them on your phone. I don't care.
Who gives a fuck?
Who gives a shit? What was I going to say? So when we talked about last week, Fast and Furious,
Nice.
I was about to say after we hung up the phone, after we stopped recording.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to watch this movie because it's sort of like inspired by Fast and the Furious. Like in the sense that it's like, I read in like an article that it was like, it's like the France's answer to the Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's strictly true.
No.
Because like, we'll talk about it, but like this one, there's really 2 car chases. Like,
yes.
There's one right at the start and then there's one at the end.
Yeah.
So I would say for the most part, this isn't even really like a car racing film.
No.
Like, the second one is all car chases. Like, it's
really?
There's like one hand-to-hand fight and the rest of it is just like car racing.
Nice.
And it's phenomenal. But this one, I wouldn't say so much as that. I think it does take some inspiration from Fast and the Furious, but I don't think it's like... Because first of all, it's got like a 10th of the budget. Like, it's clearly like... It's like 2 locations. It's not like, you know...
Yeah.
But I think what car stuff there is in this movie is just fucking, like, it's insane. It's so good.
It's a little off the hook, yeah. Because, like, at the end, that end car chase with the fucking prongs.
Yes.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah. It's so good. So, if you haven't seen it, I would say go watch it.
Yes.
Before you listen to the rest of this. Because I think there's, like, some twists and turns that are worth... Because, like, the first time I watched this movie, like... Because I watched it kind of on, like, a whim.
Yeah.
Like, I remember... We'll talk about it. But, like, I had this, like, night where it was, like, my wife was away doing something. She was at a concert or something. And I was like, okay, I've got enough time to watch, like, 2 movies, right? Like, I was like, I can watch... And I had started to watch something else. I can't remember what it was. And I was like, this just isn't, like, gripping me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like, I don't know how you are. Like, if I start something and, like, I'm not loving it and, like, I turn it off, sometimes I, like, lose the, like interest to, like, watch anything.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was like, I'll just turn this on. Like, I've heard it's good. Mm-hmm. So I started watching it. And I was kind of like, okay, like, this is good. Like, it's kind of, like, generic... like European action thing.
Yeah.
And then there's like a point where there's like a fight scene in a police precinct that is so good. That like I completely forgot like like my attitude beforehand and I was just like in.
Yeah. No, that fight scene was I think I kind of had the same thing because I was watching and I was like, okay, this is good. I can kind of see where this is going. Because we were talking before this, and I was just a little confused about what was going on, and I don't know if it was because it was in French or I was tired or what. But like I was like, what is happening? Yeah. But then that fight scene happened, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. Because like I think the part that really got me was when that lady like grabbed him and he just fucking threw her. I thought that was so funny.
It's very like one of the so like okay, we'll take it back to the start. Yeah. Because like I said, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it and then come back. Yeah. Because we're gonna like spoil the entire plot. So basically the plot is there's a man named Lino. And right at the start, we see him get caught because he's helping like his. They say it's his brother, but I think it's supposed to be like they're just really close friends. Yeah. He's like helping him rob a jewelry store because his brother is like in trouble with like this gang. And so his plan basically is he like soups up this car and crashes it through the front like entrance. That's one of the dogs trying to get in. You want to open that door? Yeah. It's dog time, everybody.
It is dog time.
Oh no. Oh no.
Can we help you? No, and Neil left. Do you want... Come on.
Do you want in, Roof? Oh, hi, Roof. Come here. Here, I'll help you up, but you gotta, like... Okay, hold on. We gotta do... Because I don't want to grab you by your pits. Yeah. I don't want to hurt your little back. Come here. Come here. Okay. There we go.
There it is. There you go.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome to the cast. You have anything to say? No. Okay.
All right. He just looks very confused.
Yeah. Anyway, so like Lino gets caught. His little friend gets away, but
his little friend,
his little homie, Quentin,
yeah.
And then there's like the classic trope of like the cop is like, we need somebody on the force who like knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And like Lino is this like, master mechanic, right?
Yeah.
And he's a part of what's called a Go Fast task force.
I wanted to talk about that name because that's stupid. Was that like a translation thing, or is that like the actual name?
I think it's a translation thing. I'm not sure.
Okay.
From what I understand, what that is, right? Like, because crime is very different in Europe than it is here, right? Like here, like the way drugs get across the border is mostly like smuggling.
Yeah.
Like it's mostly like people will like, get it through like a plane or, through a mule across the border or something like that. Whereas I believe in Europe a lot of the time, the way drugs are smuggled across the border is they literally just drive so fast that they get across the border before the cop can catch up.
Ha.
And I believe, somebody's going to call me out on this. I'm just assuming. The whole point of like the Go Fast task force is that they're like souped up cars that can actually catch the like drug dealers.
Catch them, yeah.
And so they want Lino to like help them build these like super fast cars.
Right.
And so he's like part of the task force, and then like he's kind of like the black sheep of like the thing because he's still technically in jail.
Yeah.
Like he's on like a work release program or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he gets like offered his freedom because the guy who helped him out, Shahaz, is like, I trust you, like we're cool, right?
Yeah.
And then they go to this like junkyard because they figure out that Quentin, who got away earlier, is like helping these like drug dealers like build these super fast cars. And then it like turns out that it's a setup, and Shahaz gets killed by Areski.
Freaking out.
The dog just did his little spin move, and he like shoots Shahaz.
Yeah.
And the whole plot of the film basically is that Areski tries to frame Lino for killing Shahaz so that nobody else will find out that like him and Marco, who's the other dirty cop, are like involved in like drug dealing.
Yeah.
And the lost bullet in the film is the bullet from Areski's gun, which is buried in
Shahraz's
car. Yeah. But the point that like really sold me is the point where Lino is captured and he's like in the police headquarters, and there is just this like, there's a little bit where he's like handcuffed to a desk and he like can't get away, and they're all like watching him on the monitor like, haha, look at this idiot, like they all try to get away or whatever. But then they reveal that like he actually figures out how to like get out, like he uses the bars of a thing to like loosen himself up.
Yeah.
And then it's just this like scramble. Because he's just like, what I like about this movie the most, like I think one of my favorite parts about it is that Lino is like, he's smart and he's like skilled, but he's not like Bruce Lee. Like he's not like a good fighter.
No.
He's just an animal. Like
he just goes crazy. And they like so many people tried to stop him.
Yes.
And he like quite literally like towards the end of the fight was trying to drag himself out.
Yes, it's so funny. And go ahead.
And I like too that, and I was kind of noticing in this movie that they were showing the hits pretty well. And I was like, excellent. Yeah. Right? Because it just made it that much more like visceral and intense, which I enjoyed immensely.
Oh yeah. And the lead in this is Alban Lenoir. And he is, you could probably tell, he's a former stuntman.
Yeah.
And I think the reason you can tell that is because when he's fighting like hand to hand, it's like you said, like the hits are really solid, and like there's just great stunt work. Like there's just a lot of like you said, there's that moment where he just picks up that woman and just throws her. And the way she, like, hits that table is so, like, it's such a good stunt because she just, like, just fucking hits it.
Yeah.
But and what I like about that fight, too, is that, like, it's like, that needs to be set in, like, Europe.
Yes.
Where, like, they won't just shoot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because if this had been an American film, there would have been guns going off like crazy.
Oh, yeah, they all just would have shot him at once.
Yeah.
So I love to, like I said, like, what I like about Alban Lenoir, and I watched one of his other movies this last week, is called AKA, and he plays, in that one, he plays, like, a secret agent who, like, gets, like, involved in this, like, organized crime thing.
Yeah.
And that one's not as good as this one, but what I like about it in both movies is that, like, his fighting style is, like, it's not clean.
No.
Like, it's not like John Wick where he's, like, you know, doing jujitsu and then he shoots someone in the head. It's like he, like, picks up, like, a brick and it's just, like, hitting somebody with it.
Yeah, he fights dirty.
Yeah. But the action is, like, it's visceral, but it's also clear.
Yes.
Like, they do a good job with the camera where, like, you can see everything, right? Like, it's not that, like, shaky cam, like, whatever.
It follows the action very well.
It does. And, yeah, that fight is just so funny. Because it just, like, it just escalates.
Yeah.
Like, it starts with just him fighting one man, and then by the end, he's, like, got 100 cops on him.
Yeah. And he's still managing to, like, kick their ass.
Yeah. And the way it ends with him pulling, like, the pepper spray and spraying
Oh my god, that was so good.
But I like that, too, because it's not, like, an unrealistic thing to happen.
And my mind, because it went and it, like, zoomed in on that cop's, like, sidearm area, and I thought he was just going to grab the gun and start pistol whipping people or, like, shooting, but then he grabs the spray, and I was like, that's much more useful because you can, it sprays and you can get everybody at once.
Right, yeah. And it kind of disengages them. Like,
and so then you can get away.
And what I like, too, it like a fun detail from that fight that I enjoy, later in the movie when, like, Leno is trying to make, like, his escape back to the police precinct because he's found, like, the evidence and he, like, needs to get the car back.
Yeah.
You see all the cops that he beat up before, and they all have, like, like bandages.
Yeah, they're all, like, fucked up.
They're all fucked up, and you can tell that they're just like, I don't want to deal with this guy again.
Can I do something else? Like, I want to be on a beat or something. Like, fuck this.
Like that one lady, she's got, like black eyes, and she's just like, oh, God, this guy again.
Yeah, no, the action in this, and, like, the fight scene in the barn.
Oh, yeah.
Between Marcos and Leno, where they were just using the shotguns to just bludgeon each other.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I like when you use, like, non-traditional melee weapons as melee weapons.
Yes.
Because I think it's just funny.
I love that fight, too, because there's a great... What I like sometimes about, like, fight scenes... in situations like that where, like, one person has a gun or, you know, the fight is kind of uneven, I like when you see, like, the thought process from one of the characters about, like, how do I even this fight? And there's a great scene where, like, Leno is hiding behind, like, the fridge.
Yes.
And he's kind of, like, baiting out, like, Marco's, like, shotgun.
Yeah.
And then you see him, like, he baits out one of the shots, waits until he starts to, like, cock it again, and then he jumps out. And it's like a stupid detail, but it's like it's the kind of thing that, like, elevates that scene a little bit because you're like, oh, like, the character is smart and, like, making a decision.
Right. Well, and it's also that, like, that's just logical.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's something that I think a lot of people in that situation who have, like, any amount of training would do. They'd be like, okay, I gotta wait till he's fired and is reloading.
Yeah.
To engage because he's going to be in the middle of, like, doing something and he's going to be preoccupied.
Yeah.
And so, no, I also really like that little detail.
Yeah. And what I like, too, is that, like, the movie does a good job of... It continually, like, puts the main character in a situation where, like, he is at a disadvantage and he has to find a way...
Out.
Right.
Yeah.
Like... I think the problem a lot of times with action movies, when you have like a one-man army kind of character, it's a struggle to make it interesting, because it's like John Wick can be a good example. Like, I love John Wick, but like there are times where you go like, oh, this isn't even a fight, right? Like, he's so out, like he outmatches everybody so hard that it's just like, who cares? You know?
Right, yeah.
Or you don't put them in enough peril that you feel a sense of danger.
Yeah, there's not high enough stakes.
Right. Whereas with this movie, what it does a good job of is like, oh, he's got a gun, but it has no bullets, right?
Yeah.
So what's he gonna do? Or oh, he's got a car with spikes on it, but he's being chased by 50 other cars.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden somebody throws, Areski throws a fucking incendiary grenade in there, and now the car's on fire.
Yeah, oh my god. So this movie, like, it's not like a funny movie. Like, there's not really, like, jokes in it.
No.
But there's many funny moments, and I think the funniest visual to me is towards the end of the movie after, like, Areski throws the thermite grenade. It explodes on top of the car, and Leno's like, I gotta get this car to, like, the police precinct. And there's a great visual of, like, a character on the phone, and they're like, we need help, where's the... And just behind him, you just see this flaming car.
That is pretty good. I liked right when Areski threw the grenade... Mm-hmm. Leno didn't notice at first, and he was like pummeling him, and then it like explodes, and he like looks up and he's like looking at the car, and he's just like slowly punching him, like, and you could tell he's like, ah, fuck, but he's like still punching him.
You see the gears turning in his head.
And then he like looks down at Areski and like keeps punching him a few more times, and then drops him, and he's like, okay, I gotta go. I thought that was hilarious.
It reminded me of like when he's driving the burning car, there's that like TikTok like meme, the like, I woke up in a new Bugatti.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just the thought of it, I woke up in a new Bugatti.
Yeah. Yeah.
As he's flying.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And that last, like, I mean, we're kind of jumping all over the place, but like, I think the best, what I love about like the finale is like, there's a really good build up. And then once you see, like once it kicks off, it just, like, goes. Like, so, if you haven't seen it, and at this point, if you haven't seen it, just go watch it. It's so good.
Stop this. We're not going anywhere.
No.
Stop this, go watch it, come back.
And it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's, like, literally an hour and a half.
It is tight.
It is very tight. Because it's not, I mean, it didn't have a big budget. I tried to, it's all in, like, euros or something, so I couldn't quite determine like how much it actually cost, but
we can do the conversion.
We could. Let me look it up. You stall while I look.
Yeah. Well, you let's see. I'm gonna do. You just tell me euros.
Okay.
And then euros $2.
I almost googled go fast budget.
Go fast. Euros.
Lost bullet.
Okay, here we go.
Let's see. Lost Bullet. Movie was shot in 38 days.
38 days?
Yep.
Holy shit. Yeah, good on them for keeping that shit tight.
Yeah.
38 days. Wow.
That is very, very tight.
I do have to say, a lot of the, especially in the beginning, the French, like, scenery is so beautiful.
So beautiful.
It's so good. And, like, even, like, the inner city and, like, some of the architecture, really cool. I know we shit on the French a lot, which, I mean, it's fair. But I gotta hand it to them. Their countryside and their architecture is gorgeous.
The French, I'll say this I can't find the budget. I don't know where I saw it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's low. It's not like it's not a $50 million movie. It's probably like a $10 million movie. But regardless, I'll say this for the French, right?
Yeah.
They know how to make a good movie. Like, not every... I don't love... Like, there's this I don't know how to put it into words. There's this very specific kind of French action movie that always has to do with, like, a cop and, like, terrorism and, like, stuff like that. And I don't always love them.
Yeah.
But they always are entertaining, and they're sleek, and they're, like... real pithy. Like, they're just, like, they don't waste an ounce of time.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing you can say for the French, it's, like, they know how to, like, craft something. You know?
Well, I mean, there are a bunch of artists. When you look at a lot of, like, art movement and, like, really popular, like, pieces of art and media and stuff, it like, the French are always either heading it or a huge part of it.
Oh, yeah. The French know how to do two things.
Yeah.
Make a pastry and lose a world war.
So true. And a revolution.
Yeah.
Now, they are very good, too, at beheading monarchs.
Oh, yeah.
So, shout out to the French for the guillotine. Thank you for that.
We love you, French.
And when I was in France, and I had some of their fucking pastries, I was like, this is it. Like, what is everybody else doing?
Yeah.
Nobody else knows how to make anything.
No.
Right? It's all garbage. This is it.
You know what the French got right? Butter.
Huh.
The French understand, and look, this has nothing to do with the movie or anything, really.
No. Yeah.
Butter gets the worst rep of, like, anything in the whole world. Like, I get it. You shouldn't eat a stick of butter, right?
No.
That's not good for you.
No.
But a little bit of butter is okay.
Oh, boy.
And the French understand that butter makes everything taste better.
It does. Like, objectively, butter is so good.
It's so good. Like, if you've had, like, a croissant, like a real croissant, right, with, like, the layers of, like, butter and pastry, like...
Yeah. And it's flaky.
It just makes you want to kill yourself.
Yeah, because, like, you can die happy. Yeah. Like, it never will get better than that. I know I've told this story to you before, but I want to just tell everybody else.
Just tell them.
When I was younger, when I was, like, I don't know, like 2 or 3, I was in Texas with...
the France of the West.
Yeah. I was in Texas with the family of my mom's college roommate.
Okay.
And we were at this restaurant, and... You know, they did, you know, the bread and butter basket, you know, before the meal or whatever. And their butter, you already know where this is going. The butter was in these, like, little balls. And I thought they were the greatest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I ate the entire basket. And my mom's roommate's dad thought it was the funniest thing. And he waved our waiter down and said, "Hey, can we get another basket of butter over here?" Because he wanted to see me eat more.
Yeah.
And my mom had to go, "No, you do not feed my son any more butter." So yeah, I love butter.
You're a butter girl.
I really am. I love butter so much.
I don't think there's anyone on earth that loves butter as much as you do.
I don't think so.
I've seen you eat a waffle. It's a little scary.
Yeah.
For anyone who does, I mean, unless you're like somebody who's eaten breakfast with us, so you're like one of 4 people.
Yeah.
When Grayson eats like a waffle or a pancake, it's like pancake an inch of butter. Like,
yeah.
Like an ungodly amount.
Yeah.
Another pancake, more butter, and then like a river of syrup.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you look at it and you feel your arteries like screaming.
Seize up, yeah.
Yeah, seize up.
Yeah.
It's intimidating.
Yeah. In unrelated news, my doctor did tell me I have high cholesterol, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Where that came from.
I know. It's crazy. He told me to stop eating so much butter, and I'm like, you're an idiot.
You're an idiot. Want some butter?
Yeah.
I got some with me.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Shout out to the French.
Shout out to the French. I'm going to put you onto something real quick. All right?
Go for it.
And everybody else listening.
Yeah.
If you're making a baked good,
yes.
right? We're talking cookies, brownies, anything sweet and culinary.
Yeah.
Before you put butter in your whatever it is, brown it. Like, put it in a pan.
Yeah.
Swirl it around until, like, you see the milk fat kind of come out and brown up. I promise you, you 100%. Will thank me.
Yeah. Oh,
it's like, it's another level.
Yeah.
It just makes it so, like, rich.
Yeah.
And just, like...
I want to know the science behind that.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. It has to do with, like, how the heat breaks down the fats and proteins.
It adds like a toasty kind of quality to it. I don't know. Yeah, it just do yourself a favor. Brown butter. That's my advice for the day.
Done. Done and done.
Also, French butter is good. Is a good thing if you can find it. Like I think you can sometimes get it at like Walmart and stuff like that. But anyway, we talked about butter for 10 minutes,
and I could keep going.
I love. Anyway, there's no butter in this movie.
No, unfortunately.
Unfortunately not. There
so
is...
it's a 1 for me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. What?
Oh, also the French do coffee really well.
They do. Yes. I think, but I...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I had... Because when I was there, we also had some coffee. We found like a nice little place.
Coffee?
Yeah, and yeah, their coffee... specifically their espresso, off the chain. You get that little croissant.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's your day. That's it.
You know, something I've wanted to try for a while, because like I watch a lot of like on YouTube. There's like dudes who like go to like I don't know like other countries and they try like street food and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to like I have for a while now been like I need to try this like it's like Vietnamese iced coffee.
Ooh,
have you seen that? And they make it with like condensed milk. It just looks like looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Okay.
You'll want to try it after you see. Anyway, what does this have to do with anything? It doesn't matter. Yeah. So I think we were talking about kind of like the final. Are you taking a picture of the dog?
I am. Yeah. He's very cute.
He's airing one of his ears out.
Yeah. I understand.
He kind of looks like a slab of butter.
Yeah. He does.
Don't make that face.
I'm not going to eat your dog.
Fix your ear, bub.
There you go.
He did not like that.
No, he's upset.
Okay, yeah. So the finale.
Yes.
Yeah, the way it escalates is great. Like, because you get like that phone call between them where Leno's like, I've got like the bullet and I'm going to bring it. I'm going to deliver it right to you, right?
Yep, front door delivery.
Which is great.
Yeah.
First of all. And then I love, like, the little montage of, like...
Oh, him fixing it up.
And they kind of, like... The first time I watched it, I kind of assumed what was on the, like, front of his car. But they do a good job when I was watching it this time, like... They kind of hide, like, with the editing, like, oh, what's he doing? Like, what's he... Whatever. And there's the moment where they've set up, like, the barricade.
Yeah.
And everybody's watching, and they're like, what the fuck is that? And they look, and he's got, like, like a fork, like, on the front of the car. And it's that, like, reinforced, like, grill.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where, like, he's being pursued by, a cop car. And then he, like, drops behind them. And they're like, shit, like, what's he doing? I can't see him. And then he, like, rams into them. And you get, like, the shot under the car where you see the barbs go in. And then he brakes and, like, rips the chassis out.
Yep.
Oh, my. Like, the first time I watched it, I literally went, what?
Yep. No, I was also freaking out. Because, he just, like, rips the back tires off. And then he re-engages. Yeah. And then just pushes the car.
Pushes them,
right? And Areski, like, radios them. It's like, what's going on? What the hell's going on? And they're freaking out. They're like, he's pushing us. We don't know what the hell's going on. Don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Yes.
And Areski's like, you gotta slow down. I can't understand what you're trying to say. Mm-hmm. And then, he comes around the corner, pushing this cop car, and all these cops lined up at this barricade are like, oh, what? And Areski's just like, yeah, fuck it, just shoot those guys.
And he uses the other car like a battering ram.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool.
It is baller as fuck. It's so good.
And, like, watching it knowing that they did that, like, it's not, because there is no, like, visual effects. Like, it's... Right. I mean, I'm sure there's some tweaking and stuff, but, like... You know, like I was watching Fast 9 yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Again. Because
naturally.
My wife wanted to watch it, and it's good, but there's moments where it's like, it's clearly CGI cars, and it like doesn't look as good, and you're just like, man, like, what it made me appreciate about this movie is like, when you see him pushing that car and he's like ripping out the chassis and there's cars rolling and crashing, you're like, they did that.
Yeah.
Like, they put stuntmen in danger and just fucking rammed some cars in the French countryside.
Yeah.
And it looks incredible.
It looks so good. I was like, because as he's driving the flaming car through the streets of France,
yeah,
I was sitting there going, because it was after he flipped Areski's car.
Yeah.
And like Julia is like off to the side or whatever.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going, man, how many cars did they fucking destroy? And the fact that you said that they did this in 38 days,
yeah,
I was like, did they just get every shot in like one?
You must, yeah, they must have.
Because like that's incredible.
It's real, yeah. And like, okay, so one of the things I mentioned earlier was like, I read some reviews that kind of confused me. Like, a lot of people, I think, don't make it to the end with this movie.
Oh, really?
And they kind of tune out at the start. Like, I can understand that, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going into it and you think, like, oh, this is just like any other of these kinds of movies. Like,
yeah.
It's just like a French crime drama kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
I think you could... Because I think one of the criticisms you can make is, like, the movie doesn't start that strong. Like,
right.
It's kind of slow going. There's the one car chase at the start, and then it's, like, a lot of, like, running around.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could understand why you wouldn't love that. But I think the last, like, 20 minutes is, like, worth the price of admission. Because it's just, like... It's, like, everything you want, like, the Fast and Furious to be. Like, it's, like... It's just dudes just doing insane shit in cars. And it's, like... Cars are on fire.
Yeah.
Cars are, like, flipping over other cars.
Yeah.
They're crashing minivans.
Yeah.
They're like...
Well, and, like, the thing about, like, Fast and Furious is that, like, they have these, like, multi-million-dollar cars that they've souped up, and it looks, like, sleek.
Yeah.
The car that he fixed up...
Yeah.
That shit's just welded on there. Like, it's all just reinforced steel.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a... Because, like, he didn't have a lot of time. So it's kind of a sloppy job.
Yeah.
But it still, like, gets the job done, obviously, because that shit works.
Right. And, like, the cars they're crashing are not, like, souped up, like...
No.
GTs. Or it's like a... It's just like a fucking beater, like, little honky-tonk French car.
Yeah. Yeah, that he shoved fucking giant-ass harpoon tongs on the end of and is slamming into police cars.
And it's so good. And, like, I understand some people probably watched it and they were like, like, you know, whatever. But I think, like, like, if you're, like, a fan of any kind of, like, action... and you appreciate, like, this kind of thing, I don't know how you couldn't love this movie. Like, like I said, like, it's not, I guess if you're going into it being like, this is going to be all cars crashing and whatever, you might be disappointed, but, like, that last car chase is, like, it's, like, better than anything I've seen in, like, other movies for, like, ever. Like, it's just so good. Like,
it is. I think what comes close might be Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Because the car chases in that are phenomenal.
They are phenomenal.
If not just for the fact that, like, Baby is just so good about, like using a manual car to, like, drift and, like, and just maneuver. Like, it seems just flawless and almost like a dance when he's doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, in this too, like, all the cars, because, like, I guess, whatever, Europeans are just horny for manual cars or something. I don't know. But it's same deal in this, like, the driving is just so elegant.
It is.
Even though they're, like, crashing shit, it's so good.
It is. And what I like to... So a character we didn't mention that much, her name is Julia.
Yes.
And she doesn't get as much play in this one. She kind of stands off to the side for a lot of it. She's really big in the second one. And we'll talk about the second one another week because it's like... I think it's even better than this one, like in terms of just insanity. But what I like about that final scene is, like, Julia kind of gets her, like, moment.
Yes.
And there's a great scene where... like, Lino has, like, made it to, like, Paris, and he is trying to get back to the police station, but, like, Areski is, like, bumping into him and like threatening to crash him. And there's a moment where Julia comes like screeching around the corner.
Yeah.
And they kind of are on either side of Leno.
Yep.
And then he brakes, and then those two crash into each other.
I thought that was so
is
smart.
So good. Yep. It's like the level of like when you're watching like a really good like kung fu movie, and there's that like dance kind of quality to it. It felt like that, where it was just like that moment was so like well executed.
Yeah. What was so Leno's good. And Julia's relationship? Because I didn't quite understand that.
It's kind of confusing, and the second one doesn't make it any less confusing.
Excellent.
Because I think it's implied that they're like friends who maybe slept together or something like that.
That's kind of what I was getting, but...
And then, because in the second one he ends up with somebody else, and then he like... I won't spoil the rest of the movie, but... so they're not even really romantically like, involved in the next one. Which I kind of like. Cause, I don't
that's fine.
They don't always need to be, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I like in this one that she is, like, fed up with him. Like
yes. Yeah. I love that she's just tired of his ass. Yeah. And he's like, but please listen to me. Please, I have information. She's like, you are an idiot. Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
I do like that he's a little bit dumb.
Yes.
I love any kind of protagonist that is, like, super skilled, like, super, like... physically fit and kind of dumb.
Yeah, just a little stupid. Yeah, it adds just like a little je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
You know?
I appreciate these kinds of movies, too, because I like action movies that allow their protagonists to, like, make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, one of the... people have said this discussion's been had a lot recently, where, like, a lot of people are kind of sick of, like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Because in his movies, he's never, like, flawed.
Yeah.
He's, like, he's always the best fighter. Perfect, He's perfect. He's, like, whatever. And what I like about this movie is that, like, you see over and over again, Leno makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, there's a scene where he's, like, trying to sneak back into the junkyard, and he, like, goes to, like, get a gun, but he, like, makes too much noise, and he gets caught.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where, like, he runs into a gas station with a gun.
Yeah.
He's like, give me a phone. And there's a bunch of cops behind him.
It goes back to that, him being a little stupid.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't paying attention at all.
And he gets the piss beat out of him a bunch of times.
Yeah, I going back to, and on the same subject, and going back to something we had kind of talked about, we see over and over again that Leno, like... he keeps losing.
Yes.
Like, he's like, okay, I'm going to do this, and hopefully I succeed. Mm-hmm. And he, like, starts doing it, and then he gets the shit beat out of him.
Yeah.
And it seems hopeless. Mm-hmm. Like, we're just, like, you're always thinking, like, man, there's no way he gets out of any of this and succeeds. Like, they're going to find the car, they're going to burn it, they're going to destroy it, and he's not going to have the evidence. He's going to go back to jail with all of this knowledge of, like, what actually happened, but nobody's ever going to believe him.
Yeah.
And it's only until Quentin gets shot and dies that he finally, like, has a win.
Yeah.
Like, up until that point, he is going downhill.
Right.
Right? It is just all bad things all at once. Yeah. Right? Even, like, when Quentin dies, he's like, well, fuck, he knew where the car is, but now he's dead, so I don't know where it is.
Right.
And then he notices that Quentin is holding on to that fucking cable. And he's like... thank God. Right? And as I was watching it, I also felt relief. I was like, he might actually make it.
Yeah.
He might actually fucking make this.
Well, when I watched it the first time, I thought that scene was going to end with, like, he was like, well, I don't have any evidence. Like, I'm not going to, like... And the moment where you're like, oh, there's the car, like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's so... You feel relief. You're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And then it's immediately like, oh, shit. Like, he still has to get it back. Like, you know.
Yep.
And there's so many obstacles in his way.
Yeah.
But that's, like, how you make a good conflict.
Yes.
Like, person A wants to get a thing to point B, and you need to put C, D, and E in his way. Like, that's how you make an interesting narrative.
Yes. Like, that's how, you know, when you learn how storytelling works in, like, high school. Right? You learn, you know, exposition, right? Mm-hmm. Introduce all your characters. rising action. That's where all of your conflict happens.
Yeah.
Right? You're putting shit in the way of, even in like college, learning about acting and how scripts are done and how a story's written, you introduce all of these problems and you ask the question, what does the character face, so that we get to the climax.
Right.
The big event that sort of determines the outcome of the rest of the thing.
Yeah.
Then you have your falling action, which is, dealing with the aftermath of the climax and all this shit, and then you have your resolution, right?
Right.
You wrap everything up in a nice little bow.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this movie did a really good job of following that structure.
Yeah.
And I like, too, that, like, even when he gets back to the precinct, he crashes it into the wall.
Yeah.
And you think, that's it. He died.
Yeah.
Right? Nah, he's still alive. Barely.
Yeah, barely.
Barely. Because he got thrown through a fucking windshield.
Yeah.
And, yeah. But he made it. He made it, and it's still in kind of one piece.
Yeah. I just love how often he just gets the shit beat out of him. It's kind of funny. Like, there's a scene where he's, like, broken out of jail, or he broke out of the, like, police headquarters, and he, like, goes to find Julia, and she just beats the piss out of him.
Yeah.
And it's like, a great scene that kind of resolves itself by, like, because, like, I feel like he's always, like, thinking his way out of a situation rather than, like, beating his way out of it, because he's little. Like, he's not a big guy. No. He's very fit, but he's like 5'6". Like, he's not,
Yeah.
And he's not the most physically imposing guy. Like, he's an animal, and he's just screaming and throwing things and whatever, but she's, like, taller than him and, like, stronger than him, and she, like, chokes him out, and he's like, and then he, like, handcuffs her to the thing.
Yeah.
But what I love about that scene is, like, he's never, like, on top.
No, God, no.
Like, there's one moment where he, like, picks her up.
Yeah.
But she's still, like, choking him out that whole time. And the scene kind of ends with him, like, on the ground, like...
Yeah, like, he passed out briefly and then came to, and he's like, oh, son of a bitch. And the only reason that she didn't just kill him right then and there is that he handcuffed her to a thing. Hey, can you hush?
What are you barking at?
Anyway. Big yawns. Which I thought that whole thing was very funny. Yeah. Because, like, she tries to, like, go after him again after he comes to, and then she's like, ah, you son of a bitch. which goes back to him thinking, because he's like, I'm clearly not going to win here.
Right.
So I'm going to just handcuff her ass.
Yeah.
And then run.
Yeah.
Which, that was very smart.
Yes.
I also love, and we haven't talked about her much, Moss.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
She just was tired.
Oh, yeah. She's just fed up.
Yeah, she was like, I don't get paid enough for this bullshit.
No.
And I liked how she seemed like she didn't know who to believe.
Yeah.
And she was always just like, I'm just going to do my job and follow whatever leads I got, right? Fuck Areski, fuck Julia, fuck all of this shit. I'm just going to do my job.
Yeah.
And figure this shit out.
Yeah.
I think she did a really good job. I haven't said this yet. The acting in this movie was phenomenal.
It's really good.
It was so good. Everybody was super believable. And, like, when Quentin died, I was, like, bummed.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
That dude was a really good actor.
He was solid.
He sold it.
He really did. And he was only, the character was only 19.
Yeah.
Right? Which made it just awful.
Yeah.
And heartbreaking.
They're all really good.
They're so good.
Like, Leno I like because he's kind of that classic action thing where he doesn't say that much.
Yeah.
But I think that guy, Alban Lenoir, I think he's very expressive.
Yes.
Even though he has, like, kind of a little face.
Yeah.
Like, I think he does a lot of work. Like, with his expressions.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to bring this up early in the episode, but it's a thing I think I want to start, like, adding into the start of every episode. Have you ever heard of the Bechdel test?
Bechdel. Yes, I have.
Bechdel
yes,
test? Okay.
Yes, I have.
For anyone who hasn't heard of it, so there's this thing called the Bechdel test, and there's a very interesting history to this whole thing that I suggest you go look up. But basically, it's this idea of like the lowest possible bar that you can set for a movie in terms of like gender equality.
Yes.
And the test has three questions basically, and it has to pass all three in order to pass the test. A, is there more than one named woman?
Yes.
Or, yeah, so is there at least two named female characters in the film?
Yes.
Do they talk to each other? And do they talk to each other about something other than a man?
Yes. Yes.
And that sounds like it's like, oh, like surely like every movie passes that. An astounding number of films do not.
Do not. Oh, yeah, no.
And this movie does not pass it. Shockingly.
Yeah.
I really thought it did. Like, I went into this movie thinking, like, this will be a great example. Because obviously it passes. It doesn't pass.
No.
Because every time Moss and Julia talk to each other, they're talking about Lino.
Yes.
So it's like, doesn't count.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
But I do want to start adding that in. Because I think it's a good, like... A lot of people have criticized it over the years as being like... Like, for example, like with this movie, right? Like, yes, it technically doesn't pass the test. That being said... I do think this movie's a good, like, representation of, like, gender relationships, right? Because, like, Julia is, like, never defined by the fact that she's a woman.
Right.
Right? Like, she is kind of seen as an equal to everybody else, even though she's, like, not as good of a driver or whatever.
Yeah.
There's never a discussion of, like, well, you shouldn't be here because you're a woman or whatever. You know, like, and Moss is a woman in a position of power.
Yep.
But it's never discussed as to, like, her being a woman is the reason that she's in a position of power or anything like that,
and her credibility is never questioned.
Right. Even though this doesn't pass the Bechdel test, like, it still is a good, like, could be seen as, like, a good indicator of, like, gender equality, right?
Right. Well, and going back to Julia, she could just be, like, new to this.
Right.
And so she's still trying to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she was so broken up about Charas dying.
Yeah.
Is because, he probably taught her everything she knows.
Yeah.
And now she feels kind of lost.
Yeah.
Because she's like, well, my mentor just died.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's very good.
Yeah. And so, anyway, that's just something I want to start adding into the episode. Because I think, even if you can criticize it for a lot of things, I think what's nice about the Bechdel test is that it's like I said, it's like the lowest possible bar for a movie. So I think it's an interesting place to like jumpstart a conversation.
Yeah.
And if that interests anybody at all, there's a podcast called Stuff You Should Know. Mm-hmm. And just this last week they did a whole episode on it. So
nice.
If anybody is interested in learning more about that, I would go listen to that. Anyway, doesn't pass it, but that's okay.
That's fine.
I think it's still a good movie regardless.
Yes.
One other thing I was going to say. So Shahas is kind of he's like the character that like kicks it all off. Mm-hmm. And he's really not in the movie that much. Like he's in it probably the first 15 minutes, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting is that he does such a good job like in his portrayal that you feel his loss through the rest of the movie.
Yep.
Like, you believe that everybody would like him.
Yes.
Because the actor does a good job of, like, being likable.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to just rely on everyone being like, he was such a good guy. Like, they show you enough of him to be like, I see why people would like him and follow him and, like, want to avenge him, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So I think that I said his name earlier, but I thought he did a great job.
He did phenomenal.
He's very likable.
He is.
He's
nice
like everybody's cool uncle.
Yeah.
You know? Or like a cool teacher.
Yeah, he's like a silver fox.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A French silver fox.
Yeah.
A French. A silver fox.
Nice. Yeah, he's really cool. I really liked him. It was a bummer when he died.
Yeah.
And that took me surprised. Because I honestly thought Areski was going to shoot Quentin.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
And then the bullet just goes right through Charas.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah. That's a lot of blood too.
Oh,
it just explodes.
Yeah, it was and like that's a low caliber gun too. Yeah. So like
So you are I was gonna say gun enthusiast. I don't want to put it that way. No. You're a gun. You notice guns in movies.
Yes.
We've talked about it many times.
Yeah.
What did you think of the guns in this movie?
They were very cool. They were interesting. The rifles, because okay. In a lot of American movies, right, we get like your standard Glock, your 9mm, whatever, and then your bigger stuff. You get your ARs, your AR-15s, your a lot of times you'll get like MP5s.
Yeah.
In this one, since it's a European film, you get a lot of European weapons.
Yeah.
Which are kind of funky looking.
Yeah.
They were cool.
Okay.
I really liked them. The I forget what the name of the pistol that they use is. Mm-hmm. Very popular European weapon. I think it's also a 9mm. But then the one rifle that Lino was trying to find bullets for.
Oh yeah.
In that car right when right before he got caught. I believe that was an AK-47.
Okay.
And you see a lot of AK-47s in Europe just because Russia's right there.
Yeah.
And then I really like the shotguns.
Yeah.
As standard double barrel, and then you have your classic pump action.
Okay. What did you think? Because something I always notice, right? And this is just as somebody who has done some editing before, sound editing.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in hearing how weapons sound. And to me, what I liked about this movie, even though the guns probably don't sound realistic, I like that they have kind of a hollowness to them.
Yes.
They sound like a weapon being fired, as opposed to a big boom.
Yeah.
It's like a ping.
Yes.
Like a quick kind of
Yes.
I've not been around guns that much in my life. And they definitely, the guns in this movie aren't as loud as they would be in real life.
No.
I like that they don't have a big explosion. It's like a hollow thud almost.
Yes. Yeah, and I was noticing that too. And yeah, I think the editing on that was really well done.
Yeah.
Because they sounded realistic. Mm-hmm. I've shot a few guns before, and yeah, that was good. Especially the pistols. I think they did a really good job with those.
Yeah.
Because it was impactful.
Yeah.
Which, a lot of the times in American movies, the guns are there just to be flashy, right? And they're just loud and going off all the time. Mm-hmm. In this, it was very deliberate. Because like we were saying, they don't use guns too often.
No.
It's a lot of hand-to-hand combat and bludgeoning people to death with shit. Even when Marcos had a shotgun, he still bludgeoned the guy with the butt of the gun.
Yeah.
Right, instead of shooting him.
Right. Well, and I think something that's harder for us to understand in the U.S., right? We can have this discussion all the fucking time.
Yeah.
There's way too many guns in the U.S., right?
There's so many.
So many, right? And so it's a lot, I don't even want to say it's harder, but we deliberately choose to make it harder to track, bullets.
Yes.
And ballistics and, all this stuff, right? The U.S. is kind of just we're in the pocket of the NRA and just, whatever. That being said, what's interesting to watch about, this movie and a lot of, European action films from our perspective is they do a lot of, avoiding shooting a gun because it's much easier to track weapons in Europe because there aren't as many. So it's if you fire a gun in England, you got to find the casing and the bullet and all that because they can trace it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every gun is, I don't know this for positive, but I know a lot of bullets are stamped and a lot of, if you fire a gun and you're a cop in Europe, and it's this way in parts of the U.S. too, they know every bullet that's in your gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point of this movie is that, they know that's the bullet from Oreski's gun. Because he has specific bullets that go into his specific gun.
Yep.
And so if he gets that bullet to the precinct, they'll know it's him.
Yeah, and then he's busted.
And I think that's just a more interesting narrative. Oh, it's just like, and I love any kind of movie that has like this is not related to the gun thing, but I like any movie that has like a very simple premise that is executed really well.
Yes.
Like a good example is like Mad Max Fury Road, right?
Oh, yeah.
The whole point of Mad Max is like, they're just trying to get these 4 women away, right?
Yes.
And they're being chased. And then at the end, they turn around and go back.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But it's because the premise is so simple, you can execute it much easier, and you can do more to like make it more impactful, I guess.
Yeah.
And so what I like about this movie is that you can explain it in a sentence.
Yes.
A guy is being framed and has to get a piece of evidence back to the police. Like, that's the whole thing. But they do enough to like make it interesting.
Yeah.
That you don't need this like super complicated like whatever, like he has to get a thing and do a thing. It's like he has to go get one thing and bring it back.
Yeah, it is the most simple task, and yet it was so hard.
Yeah, I know. Oh, but that's what's great about it.
Yeah.
One thing I was gonna say. So, going back to the gun thing, would you like a fun fact?
Of course.
Because you mentioned the AK-47.
Yes.
This is a fact I think a lot of people already know, but if you don't know, maybe it's interesting. So, when you look at like an American rifle, right? Something like an AR.
Yeah.
And you look at like the switch for taking it from an automatic to a semi-automatic. Usually in the US, like for an Army issued gun, it goes safety, semi-auto, auto,
yeah.
Right? And the reason for that is the US is a specialty military, right? Yeah. Like it's like you enlist in the military, you get trained, you go do all this stuff, right? And the Russian equivalent to that is the AK, right? The Kalashnikov, whatever. But on a Russian rifle, it's safety, auto, semi-auto. And the idea is that because it's a conscription army, your fighting force isn't going to be as well trained. And with a not as well trained army, when you're freaking out, you're gonna just jam the thing into,
Yeah.
If auto is at the end, you're gonna jam it into auto and you're gonna waste a lot of ammunition.
Right.
But if you put semi-auto at the end, your untrained infantryman is going to jam it into semi-auto, and they're going to be firing semi-auto, and you're going to save money on ammunition. And so that's why those two are reversed.
Interesting.
Yeah. I always thought that was an interesting fact.
That is very interesting.
Also, Kalashnikovs are super cheap.
Oh yeah, they're very cheap to make and
jam real easy.
Yeah. They're. I think they use, I forget what caliber they use. I think it's like 5.58 or some shit.
Yeah.
It's like a standard. You could put like any bullet into a fucking AK and it'll do whatever.
I think also that fact has to do something like with the investment made into like the U.S. invests a lot in individual soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Like, whereas like a conscription army, like in the USSR, it was like you invested more in like ammunition and weapons.
Yeah.
And so it was like
look how that's working out for them.
Yeah. Anyway, Sacre Bleu. I think we're at the end.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I really like the little memorial.
Oh yeah.
They had there at the end.
That was nice.
It was very nice. I like how they kind of cleaned up that car. It was a nice car.
It was nice.
I really liked that car. I thought it was funny too, because when Sharas and Lino were like driving or whatever through the countryside, I don't know if the car was small or they were huge, but like their heads were like touching the ceiling, and you could kind of tell they were kind of having to like duck a little bit. So that their head didn't bump into that ceiling, which European cars are just hilariously small.
They're so small.
And when you put, like, even my car, right? It's a Chevy Malibu, but when you get in that thing, you're like, this is an apartment.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
I have a Hyundai, right? Which I think is a Japanese company. But regardless, like, it's a car made for the American, like, my car is, like, tiny.
Yeah.
And it is still, like, massive. So roomy.
Yeah, it's huge on the
inside. But have you ever been in, like, a Mini Cooper?
Yeah.
There's, like, no room.
There's nothing.
Nothing.
Well, that's partially true. My sister has a Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
That thing is kind of big.
Well, a European Mini Cooper.
Yes, a European, yeah. European ones are small as shit. Yeah. Like, when I was in Europe, like, even their taxis, whoopsie. Even their taxis are small.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, we got in there, and, like, it was, like, me, my parents, and my sister, we were all sitting there, and it was, like, these 4 giant United States tourists in the back of this really tiny, you know, car.
Yeah.
It was a little cramped, not gonna lie. I just thought that was hilarious, this visual of, like, these two kind of, like, either really big people or just this really small car.
I think it was just a small car.
I think it was just a small car. But yeah, it was a nice car. I really liked that.
It was nice. Nice cherry red.
Yes, it was a great color.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. I think I said everything I want to say.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah. I think this is the first time in a while we've talked about, like, a movie that I think is truly, like, underrated.
Yeah.
I think, like, just go watch it. I think it's great. I genuinely think it's great.
It's a solid movie. It's a good watch. You'll have fun.
And it's easy. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Bust it out in the morning. Like, you know, before you go to work or whatever.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Easy stuff.
So what would you rate it out of 10?
8.8.
Hell yeah.
8.8 out of 10.
I was going to go, like, 8.5. 5? I think. Yeah. It's really good.
It is.
I don't have specific criticisms besides the fact that I think it takes a little while to get going.
Yes.
But besides that, it's tight, it's fun, emotional, well acted.
Yep.
It's just like it's like a little European car, you know?
It is.
Compact, reliable.
Yeah. And like I don't think we even talked about this. The dialogue, like the writing, is very good.
It is very good.
Like, aside from the go fast thing, which I think we're just chalking up to a weird translation thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's great.
It is great. There's no, like, I didn't find any of it particularly awkward or anything.
No, it seemed very natural.
I mean, maybe if I understood French, maybe it would be, but
right, yeah.
The subtitles were all, like, well written.
Yeah,
so
they were legit.
Yeah, that's all I got. At some point, I need to make, like, a spreadsheet that has all of our, like, ratings on it to see where we rate things.
Yeah,
because this might be one of our higher rated ones.
I think so.
Because our highest is still Triple R.
It is. Yeah. Look, that movie's just good.
It just slaps.
It's so good. Well, and this is also our second foreign film.
Third?
Fourth?
Fifth.
What?
Yeah. Because we watched Man the Final Fight.
Oh, that's right.
We watched Man the Finale. We watched Clan of the White Lotus.
Yeah. I forget about those ones.
And Triple R. So 5. We've had 5 foreign films.
That's my bad.
Yeah. That's all I got. What do you want to watch next time? This is one of the rare instances I don't actually have anything like like set. Because, like, the next big movie that's coming out, I think, is Indiana Jones, but we've kind of already done an Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Man, I don't know.
We can watch The Mummy.
Oh, I've never seen The Mummy.
Let's watch The Mummy.
Fuck yeah, let's do it. I love Brendan Fraser.
Let's do it. Yeah,
Hell
watch
yeah.
The Mummy. If you've never seen The Mummy. And then, I hate to say this, but after The Mummy, we gotta watch something bad again.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I have time to mentally prepare.
Because we've had a couple of too many good ones in a row.
Yeah.
I think we gotta scale it back again.
Look, we'll keep saying this. Nothing will ever beat Mexican American.
No.
Oh, God.
I'm excited, like, at the end of the year, I want to do, like, a wrap-up episode.
Oh, yeah,
and we'll, like, rank, like, oh, this was our favorite movie we watched this year. And this is our, whatever. And I'm excited to just revisit Mexican American.
Because there's such trash.
Just reflect on it. You know?
Fuck.
Good Lord. Wow.
Ugh.
All right, man.
Well.
That's all I got.
That's what I got, too.
thank you for listening.
Yep.
If you like this episode, what should they do?
Like it, comment, say hi,
say hello,
subscribe.
Bonjour.
Favorite this or whatever. I don't know. I'm not good with technology. Email us.
Yeah.
Viva La Action, gmail.com.
Yep. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher or any of those, you can review the podcast right in the app.
There you go.
You can hit the 5 stars. Yeah, makes it easy. Write a little nice written review. Yeah. But the best thing you can do, just recommend it to a friend.
Yeah.
If you know somebody who likes movies or just a couple of white people talking about something.
Yeah. Show it to your dog.
Yeah.
Or your cat.
Or your mom.
Or your mom.
Find an old person who has nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And give it to them.
Yeah.
Because they probably need a hobby anyway.
There you go.
Blare it out your Bluetooth speaker at the gym.
Yep. Hack into your school intercom system and just play it over. That's
probably the best way to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to get in contact with us, like Grayson said, you can email us. Or you can find us on social media. We are at Viva La Action everywhere, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and...
TikTok
and YouTube. I've been posting some shorts lately.
Ooh.
So I've been kind of
I saw
clipping out some stuff and putting it on YouTube. I
also saw that on TikTok too.
Oh yes, yeah. I'm kind of lazy. I kind of just put the same one on every network.
Yeah, that's fine. We got to reach a wide range of people.
Go check out our latest one because I thought it was very funny. We're talking about Vin Diesel's twin brother.
Oh yes, I did. Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Some fun visuals in there.
Yeah.
You've got great reactions. I just got to say.
Thank you.
You make for easy editing because like the way you respond to stuff makes for a good like visual gag.
Yeah.
So,
I do my best.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening.
GG's.
If you want to find Grayson, you'll find them orbiting the planet Jupiter.
Yep.
And you'll find me at your local animal shelter pretending to be a little kitty cat.
Meow.
Meow. Oh my god. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
This episode's been so many rants.
Yeah.
I keep seeing this fucking thing, right? On YouTube, not YouTube, on like TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
And I rarely see like the actual context, but it's always like somebody reacting to it. Are these like conservatives who think that like there's schools in Florida or whatever that are letting people identify as cats? Have you seen that?
No.
It's this new like conservative like fucking dumbass conspiracy talking point. Schools and shit like keep cat litter at like their facilities because it's good for cleaning up fluid.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Like cat litter is good for cleaning up blood and vomit and pee and everything else. Like that's the point of it.
Yeah,
they don't have cat litter because kids are identifying as cats.
Yeah, it's a tool to use to clean shit up.
Fuck me. Like, you know what kids like to do?
What?
They like to play make-believe.
Yeah.
And they like to pretend they're cats.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I used to pretend I was a fucking Jedi. My sister, well, I don't know if my sister was a part of it. I think my sister used to pretend she was a cat.
Yeah, kids play make-believe.
But yeah, like, that's being a kid.
Like, the transphobia aside, like,
yeah,
you know, I identify as a helicopter or whatever the fuck.
Fuck
like,
you.
Congratulations, you have one joke.
Yeah.
Like,
get something new.
Like, don't fucking, fuck. Look one step deeper.
Please.
When you read an article or, like, whatever the fuck you people do, like,
yeah, just
go one step further. Google it. Be like, is this true? Because you're probably going to find a million articles that say, no, idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing, is that these lunatics don't know how to do research.
No.
Like, first of all, how did you get into this position? Right? Because, like, to get into politics, you have to go through, like, a good amount of school.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to get, like, these really important, like, what are they called? Not partnership, fucking, like, apprenticeship.
Yes.
Right? Where you like shadow all these people, and you like a huge part of being in politics and just stuff involving the law, you have to research stuff.
Yes.
How do you not know how to do any of that? We have all information, all human knowledge at our fingertips. Just go to Google and look it up. This isn't about like a political thing, but when I was first getting my dog, and I was talking with a couple of my coworkers, right, they were like, "Oh, are you make sure to get tampons as well because dogs have periods?" And I was like, "Well, no, because she's gonna get spayed."
Yeah.
And they're like, "But you still need them because she's still gonna have a period." And I was like, "Guys, if you take the organ out of the body that does the period thing, they're not gonna have the period." No. And they were like, "No, but they're still gonna have a period." So I did the Google. Yeah. I looked it up and I read them word for word. And I was like, and I told them straight up, I was like, you guys have to do your own research. Yeah. You can't just kind of guess. No. Because that's how you are wrong and that's how misinformation gets spread.
Not only that, right, but I feel like there is this thing that we used to have that, I don't know where it got lost. Like, I think COVID just fucked everyone's brain.
Yeah.
There's this thing, it's called context clues, right?
Yo, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to dox myself a little bit. I work in a very touristy part of the city we live in of Albuquerque. And I work at a store that is related to a show that was filmed in New Mexico, right? Yes. Okay, it's Breaking Bad. I work at a Breaking Bad store, right?
Yeah.
Don't come and find me, please. But every fucking day, I have to answer the same question. Was it filmed here? No shit.
Yeah. Like, literally.
We don't just have a random-ass store in Albuquerque for a random-ass show.
Yeah.
Like, pick up the context.
Yeah.
You're in New Mexico. Like, what do you think?
Also, have you even seen the show?
Right.
Because when you watch it... There, like, you can see I-25.
Yeah.
You literally can see
the mountains.
Yeah, like it's the same fucking thing.
And they say, like, one of the first lines in the show is like, "My name is Walter H. White. I live at 308 Negro Royal Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico." Yeah. Why would they set it here and not film it here? Like, we're not LA. Like, it's cheap to film here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like, the only movie that says that it's set in Albuquerque, but it wasn't actually filmed here, High School Musical.
Yes. I was just about to say, that was filmed in Utah.
Yeah. So...
For some reason.
Yeah.
Why set it here?
I don't know.
That's so random. Anyway.
It's very strange.
People are dumb.
Yeah. Context clues.
Context clues.
Critical thinking. Yes. Like, did we forget how to critically think about stuff?
We did. We forgot a long time ago.
It's not even that hard to critically think about things. Like it's all about just asking questions. It's asking why or how, right? Like when you talk about, like, when I was first learning about newspaper and doing the news, right? You learn who, what, when, where, and why, and how. Those are the 6 questions that you ask and try to answer, and that is how you get correct, useful information out. You don't just guess.
No. Anyway.
I also get stupid questions at my work.
Oh, yeah.
I work at FedEx. And people are like, oh, they so, and I can kind of forgive people for this, but they're like, because I say I'm at the Albuquerque station.
Right.
And, it might be, they might live in, like, Gallup or something. And they're like, oh, yeah, is it going to the Gallup station or whatever? And I'm like, there's only 2 stations. Yeah. In New Mexico. Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Well, I think there's one in Cruces. But Albuquerque delivers to Gallup.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh. Or they're like, oh, will it get here in a couple of days? And I'm like, no, it's going to go out for delivery tomorrow. And so, yeah, I also get just the dumbest questions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, think.
Use your brain.
Please.
You have it for that purpose.
Like we evolved one of the most complex organs in the animal kingdom. You're not going to use it?
Right.
What the fuck? Whatever. Whatever.
Anyway, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Well, see you next time.
Adios.
Bunch of idiots. Just kidding. Not you guys.
No, you guys are the smartest people alive.
Smart ones. That's right. because you listen to the show.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Adios.
Adios. Over.
Over.
Over.